Behavior Bits, November 2020. Welcome. I'm Tara Yarberry. I'm a board certified behavior analyst with the Butte County SELPA, and I'm here today to talk about the good behavior game. Thank you so much for joining us. So the good behavior game is a classroom management strategy that I would argue can also be used in the home environment that is an evidence-based practice. So clinical experience and patient values and preferences have led to some research about this. And that's a fancy way of saying people were doing it. They developed it. They were doing it. They tracked how it was working and whether or not it was something that actually changed behavior. And the research showed time and time again, it's actually a really researched management strategy, that this is something that works. So how do you play it? The good behavior game has 2 teams. You can change this, of course. Sometimes you might have 3, but generally 2 teams of kids that are in your classroom or your household. I'm going to give you some examples of my untraditional good behavior game that I play with my 3-year-old because he doesn't have any other kids in the house. And so we utilize the dog and the cat as the second team. Wouldn't recommend it, but for our circumstances, the warm and fluffy 3-year-old turned into a very emotional and dictator-like 3-nager overnight for us. And this is what we pulled out because it was what I knew and I thought we'd try. And it has served us actually pretty well. So your 2 teams, points are given for inappropriate behavior in the good behavior game, and the lowest earning team wins. The second way that you might win is if your team is not necessarily the lowest earning team, but you did better. You scored less points for inappropriate behavior in this game than your team did in the last game. Then that's a way that you can also win the good behavior game. So you're going to implement this with 5 easy steps. You're going to start by figuring out a time that's good to implement it, right? You're going to do maybe a 1 to 2 hour chunk is what's recommended, but it's going to be a structured time or a time when you're having a high amount of inappropriate behaviors. And you're going to define those behaviors that are inappropriate. It's maybe in the classroom, some out of seat, some blurting out, and disrupting your peers by whispering to them or making loud noises. At home, we defined our system as the time that we picked was for bath time. It's got bath, pajamas, and toothbrushing, which are all highly unpreferred, and they lead up to bedtime. So we picked ignoring directions. So if the parent tells you to do something and you're not doing it, or you don't even kind of respond, if you forget to do a step in there. So he's very familiar with his toothbrushing routine, but if he kind of omits maybe turning his timer on, that might be a time that he gets a point for the inappropriate behavior. And if he leaves things out, again, like the toothbrush, doesn't put it back, he might get a point for that. So you're going to make sure that you're implementing this where you've scheduled out that this is the game, right? You're going to let your students or your kids know this is the game that we're doing, and we're going to have a start and an end to the game. Maybe it's daily. Most places do it daily. Sometimes you might do a whole week if it's something that you're used to implementing and you've done for a while. Make sure that when you're thinking about the rewards, right, because a team wins, at least one team wins at the end of this, that you're thinking about things that are motivating for your team members. You know, if I'm on a team and I'm getting something that I can regularly have access to, that's not very motivating. You want to make it something that, you know, they want, and that I'm not going to pull a toy out of the toy box that my kid can go and access at any point if he's winning the good behavior game, because then I'm not going to get his buy-in in the game, right? I'm going to pick something that maybe is up high that we don't usually have available to him. So you're also going to create those teams, and you're going to keep that team spirit alive, right? You're going to think about when you go to games or when you cheer on teams or when you're part of a team, you might have a mascot, you might have a team name, you might do some cheers yourselves, and you're going to teach the game now to your team. So you've said, maybe here's my class, and this half is team A, this half is team B. You know, give yourself a name, put it up on the board. I'm going to tell you all the rules, and I'm going to let you know what you're working for, what you're going to earn if you win. You're also going to then go ahead and record those inappropriate behaviors, and you're going to do it publicly. It's going to be on the board. It's going to be in a place that can be seen. You can choose whether or not you want to talk about it. You want to verbally identify inappropriate behavior from this team or not. Like right now, I'm going to say that there might be some inappropriate behavior from my dog happening because he just heard that somebody else came home. So I might just go up to my board and just write a little point down under the dog's team at this point. And the biggest things to think about as you're doing this is that you are being consistent and objective. If you're scoring one way for one team, for one person, you want to make sure that you're always scoring what out of seat looks like, what that blurting out looks like. Make sure that you're being consistent. So I've got here a little video that I wanted to share because it sort of shows how it can be implemented. I'm going to speed it up though, because it goes through stuff just like I spoke through all of it. It goes through it pretty well. And it just shows you an example of a teacher that is implementing this plan. So splitting the class up into 2 teams. You want those teams to be pretty even. You also want it to be people that are, totally amped about the game, as well as people that maybe aren't as amped. You make sure everybody knows what the teams are, who's on what team. You're going to write out the rules. You can have them just on your board. You can have them like this teacher is going to post them for everyone to see somewhere. And this is where that's that objective and consistent application of the rules. I love how they wrote these rules out in this because they're really clear. They make a lot of sense. And they provide like a kind of, maybe out of seat looks different because if the teacher's seated at their desk, then students can come up if they have a question. That wouldn't be counted as out of seat during that time. Here's the explaining of the rules to the teams. And now we're actually playing the good behavior game. We're noting in the points that we're giving during the good behavior game when someone is not doing the right thing, right? When those inappropriate behaviors are happening, like right here, shouting in the classroom. That doesn't mean that you don't also want to acknowledge those individual things that are happening well, right? When a student's doing the right thing, you still want to give them props for that. You still want to individually give positive, specific praise to your kid or your student when they're doing the right thing, even if their team might be accruing a lot of inappropriate behavior points for the team. So it looks like they got a winner's board. They won some stuff. Yay, everybody's super stoked and happy. Love it. That's a little quick example using this on how to implement that game. So that's the end of the behavior bits for right now. I want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate coming, being a part of this. Our Padlet's here. The website is here and my email here. If you ever want to talk behavior or bits, please feel free to reach out. I'm always available.